Much. We're going to move on here to the whole issue of public safety. As you know, public safety, including where to get our best police services and how to pay for them, has been a topic of widespread concern over the last year or two. So the following questions focus on the area of public safety. And the first question simply, let's see, the bulk of the city's budget, over 50%, is dedicated to public safety, which includes the police and fire departments. Would you be in favor of a comprehensive benchmarking study that provides an apples-to-apples comparison of our costs per resident per household with other cities, with to other cities with the objective of best practice implementation and cost reduction? Jennifer, I'll start with you if you want to take a crack at that.
Thank you. You mentioned both fire and police. So we have county fire. That's been a contract that we've had. We have sort of a comparison because Hermosa Beach recently went from an in-house fire department to the county. And so we can kind of look at their numbers because that's a very comparable city. And they're choosing our model. So I think that speaks to what we have with fire. In terms of police, at this point, we are just coming off Measure E, where about 70% of our residents said that they do support our police department. We had some figures in the third-party study that was done of the police department prior to Measure E, where there was a range of estimates of what the sheriff might cost, from a little bit less to what we pay now to potentially even more. The problem I have with a feasibility study is that it's really hard to compare apples to apples. What we have with our own police department is really irreplaceable. No sheriff's department is going to give us 2-minute and 40-second response times. No sheriff's department is going to spend the time to solve the home invasion burglaries that occurred in our city. We brought those cases to the sheriff's department and they didn't want to address them. So to me, I don't think we can get apples to apples right now. On down the line towards the expiration of Measure E, when we need to look at something different, perhaps I'd have a different answer.
Thank you. Michael?
This is a combination of a transparency issue and let's hit the Measure E issue. From a transparency perspective, prior to the passage of Measure E, and I'm not saying this to go too heavily into the past, everyone just wanted to know what the sheriff's study involved. And in particular, towards the end of it, Victoria stood up and said, I'm not sure this is the right thing because we don't have all the information. And I don't see what the problem is with sharing that data and that knowledge, but I digress. I actually voted for and I supported Measure E. And at the time, I thought it was the right thing because I was very well sold. Thanks for the science, Kevin. For saving our police. And I discovered after the fact that funding was several $1 million short, including pension costs. I spent a bunch of time with Chief Velez and had a fantastic tour of the police department. We talked solutions, et cetera. I think we need to take a core look at Measure E when the time comes, maybe even before its expiration, and analyze what we really got for our money because there are no escalators and we're not going to have enough to properly fund it.
Thank you. Betty Lynn?
So as far as benchmarking for the police department, last year during the Mercury study, we were actually compared to like-sized cities with their own police departments, such as San Marino, La Habra, and some of the other cities. And what I saw was that we provide overwhelmingly much more services than those departments, even though the prices were pretty similar. Now, we keep talking about the feasibility study with the sheriffs. They know how much we cost. So how is that, I mean, talking to my business people out there, if you know somebody's contract amount, are you going to underbid them? And then maybe in a couple of years escalate it back up? And then some more? Because our police department is irreplaceable. We can't say, let's switch it out for a year and maybe we can switch it back. It doesn't happen like that. So mindful of that, yes, we need to benchmark, but we need to benchmark with other cities that are like ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to echo a couple of the comments about the fire. I think that we have the right answer with the Los Angeles County Fire contract. I think that's the most cost-efficient way for us to deliver that service. As far as the police department, I support our local police. I want to benchmark with communities such as San Marino. Might be a good example where it's a similar-sized community with a independent police force. And again, I want to go back to maintaining those service levels, but I want to look at the way in which we're delivering them. Are there options? Let's do an open book analysis to find out whether a central dispatch might or might not be more cost effective at the same service levels. If there's a difference in service levels, then that's something we can talk about and what the cost value trade-off is.
Kevin?
Hey, so a couple of things. I agree with Dave in that if we do a study, it needs to be with a comparable city with their own police department. I wouldn't support a feasibility study with the sheriffs right now because 2/3 of the city decided they want to keep their own police department. We would go back to a sheriff's feasibility study in the event we have to ask for more money. I worked for a large agency, or worked up until last week, worked for a large agency, and I can tell you I know what a large agency can do, and I know what they can't do. And what they can't do is provide the kind of service that our police department has. When somebody promotes here, they stay here. When somebody gets a different job here, they stay here. When somebody makes captain, they stay here. In a big agency, people move around all the time. I was a captain for 12 years, and I had 8 different assignments. So in big agencies, they move people around all the time, and for consistency and for the kind of service we have, this is a luxury. Once we lose our police department, we'll never get it back. We could never buy it back again. I like our police department, and I'm willing to pay for it.
Thank you. Victoria?
Well, one of the great things about being kind of an elected person in town is you have a lot of opportunities to talk with people. I do think our residents want the police, and I think that's evidenced by Measure E. So, okay, let's find a way to keep that model. It's a community-based policing model, which is more expensive. Of course, as I said, my issue is that we have a flat $5 million tax to pay for a $7+ million and growing police department. So for me, that didn't pencil out. I think it's interesting points about the comparing to like cities. We certainly did, before Measure E, we did a consultant, this fellow McCrary, did a review of our police department and made a lot of recommendations that we did almost none. I think we need to dust that thing off and because that was a way of tightening our belt. He made recommendations for tightening our belt. I have thought that the sheriff feasibility study was a baseline. It's a different model, but at least that gave you a kind of a minimum level of service and what that would cost, but I don't think that's what our residents want. But I don't think that Measure E, passing Measure E, I don't think was a referendum by the voters to the city council to spend away. I think they expect that we were going to tighten our belt and make the department more efficient, which I think we need to do.
Thank you.